Hi, this is Dr. Cindy. I'm going to be doing a video presentation first. I was going to talk a little bit first, but I'll do that after. This video presentation is part of a series I'm doing called Evaluating Racialized Words. So I guess the best thing to do is to begin. And I hope you can see this. As I said, this is the second in a series of evaluating racialized words that I have done. The first one I did was on minorities and majorities. And it's important to understand that words have value, whether that value is negative or positive. And in the one that I did for minority and majority, I broke it down in the sense of the value of the words. And it is more than just a numeric value. In fact, the subliminal value of the word minority, if you break it into its piece parts, with the ity being the suffix or the end of the word, that part of the word changes the root minor into minor as a state of being. Alternatively, you've got major as a state of being. So within this world of white supremacy, you are inadvertently supporting that ideology of white supremacy if you consider that white people are supposed to be the majority or major as a state of being, and non-white people are supposed to be the minority as a state of being or minor as a state of being. So if you want to see that presentation that I did on evaluating racialized words, minority and majority, you can look at it on my website, www.alease-writer.com, or you can look at it on my YouTube page. And remember to subscribe to both. So as I said, I'm going to be evaluating the word ghetto. And I put a little subheading there, masquerading as a Black invention. Now, the reason why I put that is because Black people, and I'm not talking about all of us, but collectively, we will take some of the worst words used to describe and define us and spin them, flip them, turn them upside down so that they mean something else. And then we feel we have invented that word so that it is more palatable. It's been sanitized and it's good for us. But what I want to tell you here, and what I'm going to try to convey, is that these words do not belong, nor do they need to be defended. And they can be stripped from our vocabulary. So what is this word ghetto? G-H-E-T-T-O. What does that word mean to you viscerally? When you hear that word, what comes to mind? Now I need you to open your minds and start letting some of these things in. I want you to think. When you hear that word ghetto, what is the absolute first thing that comes to your mind? Well, as a place, the ghetto was once used to describe where European Jews were forced to live. The most popular one being in Poland, called the Warsaw Ghetto. When we hear the word ghetto in relation to the Nazis, we know that that's where Jews were placed in Europe and Italy. Nobody really even knows where the word ghetto derives from, but it does have a pseudo origin in Italy. From anti-Semitism to race and poverty in the United States. That's where we're going now. So the Jewish ghettos were finally abolished after the end of World War II, but the word lived on. and it came to America. And it was redefined as a poor, urban, Black community. Keep that in mind. Now, the system of racism included laws and lending practices from redlining to restrictive covenants, all explicitly designed to perpetuate a separation of white and non-white neighborhoods within cities and, in some cases, entire states. Think Oregon. So what does ghetto mean? Okay, white flight after World War II. Communities were being invaded by people of color. The Negro, like the immigrant, is segregated in the city into a racial colony. Economic considerations, race prejudice, and cultural differences combined to set him apart. By 1966, in an article in Ebony magazine, something must be done, and done soon, to build strong and stable family structures among Negro ghetto dwellers. At the turn of the 21st century, something happened to change the way Black people would use this word. So I call this ghetto revised. Making lemons into lemonade, putting lipstick on pigs, and other ridiculous rhetorical expressions to rewrite the meaning. And as I said, that's what Black people have a tendency to do. We will take words such as nigger, call it nigga, my nigga. We try to give it some sort of positive spin, just like we did with ghetto. Now, before I get into Ghetto Revised even deeper, I want to discuss connotations and why they are so important. Connotations are commonly understood cultural or emotional associations with words that the word or phrase carries, in addition to its explicit or literal meaning, which is its denotation. So a connotation is frequently described as either positive or negative with regard to its pleasing or displeasing emotional connection. So when you hear the word nigger as espoused by a white person, the connotation is negative, highly negative, and it evokes an emotional response and association. And so does ghetto. Black people didn't always want to be associated with the word ghetto. But just like we took that word Black that was assigned to us when we were enslaved, and as we grew to understand that we were human beings and that we deserved equity, equality, justice, and opportunity, we started to take these words that were defining us in such negative ways and we spin them to make them positive. So as a noun, ghetto was a place to live due to a lack of choice of racial discrimination, because of racial discrimination. As an adjective, ghetto was described as a living condition. And in the turn of the 21st century, it was revised to include class status and to sanitize its use. Now, we always knew it had something to do with class status, but it was a word for Black class status. White people were already using it to describe Black condition. Let me repeat that. White people were already using it to describe the Black condition. White people were already using it to mock the lack of financial resources of Black people. And white people created the stereotype of the poor ghetto Black, or the welfare queen. Remember, the welfare queen was the woman who was taking advantage of welfare. Remember the mocking connotations of the word. So ghetto fabulous started around the 1990s, and it had to do with Black people who were buying those Air Jordans and those Gucci clothes and didn't have the financial wherewithal, that financial success, but showed out. So it was overly exaggerated glamour without the wealth to support it, but it was still associated with Black. Black people thought the economic class connotation allowed Black people to share the word used to describe themselves with white people. Just like I'm sure many Black people have heard other Black people refer to white trash as niggas. Yeah, they niggas too. You don't even know what you're saying when you say that. But you have to start understanding what these words mean and what they do and how they define you, whether you think you are sanitizing them or not. You ratchet. No, you ratchet. So there became that we all can be ghetto. Equal opportunity ghetto. Despite efforts to sanitize the word through rap culture and other forms of acceptance over the generations, ghetto has become synonymous with Black, whether you like it or not. Black behavior, being and living Black, whether or not it also includes class structures, and even if white people are pictured and associated with the word. And I'm going to tell you why. The connotation of ghetto is already too deeply ingrained in the subconscious and unconscious emotions of both Black and white people, and in the most negative sense of the word as defined by white people toward Black people in a racialized America steeped in racism and stereotypes. For all intents and purposes, they could be wearing blackface. Using ghetto to describe white people holds about the same amount of power as using nigger to describe white people. None. Why, you might ask? Because they were created by white people, stereotyped by white people, and revised by white people to mock Black people. Know when you being mocked. Ghetto is a racialized word, just like the word nigger, just like blackface, used to mock Black people, no matter how it is masqueraded to connote the lack of class or wealth of either Black or white people. You need to understand this. This is a racialized word, which has become part of the white supremacist lexicon and has been accepted like so many things are accepted by Black people. What do? We put lipstick on that pig, but it's still a pig. So here's what you can do. Don't continue to use words that describe yourself that have any negative connotations. If there is any negative emotional response to a word that is used to describe you as a Black person, stop allowing yourself to be defined by white supremacist notions of your inferiority. Ghetto is a white supremacist notion of your inferiority. If it does not serve you, remove it from your vocabulary. You do not serve it, therefore it is unnecessary. The first step to effectively navigating this system of racism is to stop using the words that they designed to define us. Some of my sources and where you can contact me.